Hi, I'm Starborn. Remember, to be a star, you have to shine your own light, follow your own path, and not be afraid of the darkness, because that's when stars shine brightest. If you've been looking at our website, starborninstitute.org, you'd already know that the title of tonight's show is a question. And the question is, fact or fantasy? And so you might think about trying to get an answer to whether something is really a bona fide truthful fact or whether it's sort of made up, because you could think of it in terms of 6, 5, and 4. And that describes the number of planets in different configurations that can lead us to answer that question about whether something is fact or fantasy. And that's because the first number, 6, is the number of planets that are all beautifully trining each other in the Earth signs, which are good problem solvers, very realistic, hard workers, and very practical. And that is because the Sun and Mercury have now moved into Virgo, and Mercury is the ruler of Virgo, and it rules your health and service to others, and it rules accounting and accountability and facts and details, and it rules analysis. So Virgos are very good problem solvers, and Mercury is the ruler of the sign, so there can be a lot of thoughtful application about facts and details that can probably answer that question for you, whether something is fact or fantasy. And then those two planets are beautifully trining Uranus in Taurus, a fixed financial sign, and then those 3 planets are trining 3 other planets, Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn in Capricorn, which rules big business and big government agencies and the management in them, and long-term rewards such as your pension funds. So these 6 planets in the Earth signs represent facts and details. And because there are so many of them, 60%, I think that we are going to be able to distinguish between really truthful facts and things that appear to be that way but are actually fantasy. Because there are some things that we need to do in our process of fact-finding. We have to be aware that there are 5 retrograde planets right now. Well, of the 6 planets in Earth signs, 4 of them are retrograde. Uranus in Taurus is retrograde, and it's trining the 3 planets in Capricorn, which are also retrograde. They're not going to stay like that. In fact, some of them go direct in September. But for right now, there are 4 of the 6 planets going backwards, which means we have to redo something or re-examine something and probably try to discern whether something is a bona fide fact or whether it's somewhat made up. But those 5 retrograde planets, 4 in the Earth signs, also include Neptune in Pisces. And Pisces does rule fantasy. It rules things behind the scenes. It rules illusion, and it rules deceptions and omissions. And Neptune, although it's retrograde, is at home in that sign, so it is very strong. There are also 4 planets that are in a harsh T-cross among the mutable signs. We haven't seen that in a long time, but it's happening now. And that is because that Sun and Mercury in Virgo are opposing that Neptune in Pisces, and all 3 of them are being harshly squared by the Moon in Sagittarius today. So there are a few hurdles that we have to overcome and try to understand. Or let me put it another way. There are some ways that you can be misled now by things that appear to be true, or maybe that information is being given by somebody who appears to be an authority. But there could be some other story behind all of those facts, and that's what we need to determine. So it may not be too easy right now to get to the facts, but it looks to me like we are going to be able to do that, because the majority of the planets, 6 of them, are in the Earth signs, all in wonderful trine to each other. But we do have 2 big things to watch out for. The first one is there are 2 harsh T-squares of planets. There are 5 of them in the cardinal signs, and there are 4 of them in the mutable signs, and they can create controversy. So the 5 planets in cardinal signs involve Venus, which is in Cancer still, and it is being harshly opposed by Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn in Capricorn, meaning that there really is a conflict between the demands of your home life and the demands of your career, or of policies or methods that are being handled by management in large corporations or government agencies, and they're not compatible at all. And then, so that can lead to a betrayal. And the betrayal is caused by the fact that Venus in Cancer is being opposed by Saturn. And whenever Venus and Saturn oppose or square each other, that is a sign of a betrayal. It might be a good one, though. In other words, a betrayal by high management in a large corporation or a government agency could occur in order to set the record straight. And in other words, that could be that there could be careers now, remember that's what Capricorn rules, that are threatened by malfeasance or about threatened by poor work performance, poor job performance. And so a betrayal or some revelation about that could bring those problems to the surface. And when they are exposed, maybe we would learn the truth about all of that. The other thing that can confuse us, that certainly can be involved with fantasy right now, is that that Sun and Mercury in Virgo are being opposed by Neptune in Pisces, and Pisces rules things that are hidden behind the scenes. It rules all areas of confinement, and it also rules people who might tell an outright lie right now. And so, or may have done that in the past. They may have composed facts that weren't exactly true. And because the Sun and Mercury are opposing that Neptune in Pisces, it looks like the facts may come out in a rather accurate way right now, and that could expose the fantasies going on behind the scenes. On top of that, the moon in Sagittarius is squaring the planets in Virgo, and it is squaring Neptune in Pisces. Well, when the moon and Neptune square or oppose each other, that can not only lead to confusion, but certainly deception. In other words, the fantasy comes because some people have been kidding themselves. And that is why this is a time when imposters cannot evade the truth any longer. It's going to come out because the truth has something to do with real proven facts. And also, they cannot perpetuate some sort of outright lie that has been going on for a rather long time. That too will be exposed. And so what that means is that this just isn't a fantasy world, or it's not a dream world anymore. This is a time when we have to sort of get back to basics and really be realistic about them and do some good problem solving, and that would all be based on just the facts. If nothing else, it would be the facts about your budget or about your lifestyle. And it may involve some people who can't kid themselves anymore. And so is it fact or is it fantasy? That's a question that you probably are going to need to answer this week. All right, what does this mean to all 12 of the sun signs? Well, Aries, for you, I urge you, Aries, not to make a quick move right now. And the reason why is that Mars is in your sign. That's wonderful, but there aren't any more planets in Leo anymore, so that Mars isn't quite as well fortified as it was in last week's new moon in Leo. But Mars is trining the moon in Sagittarius, and Sagittarius rules long-distance travel, higher education, religion, philosophy, the courts. And so that simply means that if you were planning a long-distance trip, Aries, your plans would go rather well. They would be successful. Maybe you should just stick to that and try not to do anything else right now, Aries, because yours is a cardinal sign caught up in these 5 planets that are squaring and opposing each other. And since it's Mars in your sign, and Mars is squaring Venus in Cancer, which can indicate that there can be a conflict somewhere in your life and it is not getting resolved. So that could be a little bit iffy, and perhaps you had best not voice your opinions right now and sort of stay out of a fight, Aries, because you don't have a whole lot of backup in case you do get in a fight. So I would resist that if I were you. And then that Mars is also squaring Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn in Capricorn, and that means that your career could be threatened, or your public reputation could be threatened right now. If you come on a little too strong and insist on having your own way, I don't think that you have got the support to go ahead and be successful at that. So why don't you go on a trip instead? That would give you a little bit of time to plan and think and enjoy yourself as well, and without any opposition or conflict. Okay, what does it mean to a Taurus? Taurus. There are 6 planets in the Earth signs. Yes, 4 of them are retrograde, but still, they're in a grand trine. And that simply means that you, in your sign, which has Uranus, is being trined by the Sun and Mercury in Virgo, and also by that powerhouse trio in Capricorn, Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn. And since there are also 4 planets that are retrograde out of the 6, it means that this is a perfect time, Taurus, for you to carefully reassess your financial position, your career, your long-term security goals, your health, or in your service to others. And I think you really could come up with the facts right now, since the predominance of planets in Earth signs mean that we are all going to get the facts, maybe sooner or later, and then we are going to have to make some tough decisions. But I think you're going to make the right decision, Taurus, particularly if it involves your favorite subject, which is money, since yours is a fixed financial sign. So I would say that you may have recently passed a threat to your financial position, and now you just need to refine your position, or you need to go ahead and follow along with the things that your strong supporters are advising, and those strong supporters would be in large corporations or government agencies. And if you're deciding that you need to improve your health, this is the right time to do it, Taurus, because you could get some good news about that, particularly if you've already been working on that. Okay, what does it mean to a Gemini? Gemini, once again, there aren't any planets in the air signs. So your sign doesn't have any backup, but neither does Libra and neither does Aquarius. And since Aquarius rules the future, this is a time when you may not need to concentrate so much on the future. Instead, Gemini, you need to keep your guard up right now, because there are 4 planets in mutable signs, all squaring and opposing each other, and yours is a mutable sign. So the Sun and Mercury in Virgo are squaring your sign, which means this is not the time for talk, Gemini. This is the time to face facts. It could be about your health. It could also be about occupations that involve service to others, like teaching or nursing, or being a public servant in one way or another. Maybe you just need to face facts right now about all of that. And then Neptune in Pisces is squaring your sun, and that's where the fantasy comes in, Gemini. There really is somebody, or perhaps there are a number of people, that are saying one thing in front of you and doing another behind your back. And that is something that you need to find out about. So you might do some quiet detective work, or ask someone else to do that, in order to find the real truth. Remember, we all have to search for facts, or ask ourselves, what is a fact and what is a fantasy? You need to work extra hard on that right now, Gemini, because the moon in Sagittarius is also opposing your sun sign. And that means that somebody else wants to go their own way. It could be a woman, and she probably is going to do that. She might be connected with the courts, or higher education, or be from a foreign country, or simply want to take a trip. She might want to travel. But that may sort of bother you a little bit right now. So there's plenty for you to really work on quietly by yourself right now, Gemini. But I would do it with my guard up if I were you, because your sign has no backup right now. So this could be a good time for you to be as quiet as possible, not say too much, but try to find out a lot of information right now, particularly and so that it can enable you to discover fact from fantasy, because there's a lot of fantasy going around, and it has to do with people who are sort of faking it or outright lying right now. So that's why you need to keep your guard up. Okay, what does it mean to a Cancer? Cancer. Venus is still in your sign, which is wonderful. It's being tried by that Neptune in Pisces. And so you can sort of live in a dream world if you want to, but it's too late, Cancer. You can't do that anymore. Nobody can. And that's because that Venus in your sign is just taking a beating, I'm sorry to say. And that is because Pluto, Jupiter, and Saturn in Capricorn are opposing it, which means there could be a betrayal around in by somebody pretty high up, but that would serve to set the record straight. And due to the fact that there can be some careers that are threatened right now by malfeasance or poor work performance. That may or may not include you, but it is probably going to be revealed. And that could affect you if, for instance, it was your boss. What if your boss is in trouble right now, or the company you work for is in trouble? That's how it could affect you. It may not have anything to do with what you've done, but you could still be affected by some sort of poor assessment of a poor job performance or malfeasance, actually doing something illegal right now. And then on top of that, Mars in Aries is squaring your sun, which means that your relationships are going through adjustments right now. That's a polite way to say that not everyone is agreeing with you. Or it can be that in your peaceful state of mind, since Venus is in your sign, you really are sort of bothered by people who are coming on too strong and insisting on having their own way and are not really interested in sort of backing off and calming down. So it's important for you to realize that somebody's not telling you the truth, Cancer. Even though Neptune is trining your sun in Pisces, that Neptune is in trouble right now, and that can expose a fantasy or somebody who's doing some outright lying right now. And the time for that is over. It's not a fantasy world or a dream world anymore. So you are probably going to be faced with a fact, a pretty hard one to swallow right now, Cancer. And it may not be one that you directly caused, but you could still be affected by it. Okay, what does it mean to a Leo? Well, Leo, you just had a fabulous new moon in your sign, so you can be all primed to make a fresh start of one sort or another. But actually remember, this week, some of the planets have changed. In fact, there aren't any planets in your sign now, Leo, because the sun and moved on. They've gone into Virgo. So there's 6 planets in the earth signs right now, all trining each other. And that means that you too, Leo, have got to get down to earth and back to basics right now. And that probably involves your budget in one way or another, or children's issues, or sports, or the entertainment world, or love affairs, all the things that your sign rules. And since your sign also rules extravagance, this is the time not to spend any money, Leo. Even if you can afford it, don't do it, because Uranus in Taurus is squaring your sun, and there can be sudden changes in the value of your investments right now, and that's why you need to sort of hold on to everything if you can. However, Mars in Aries is trining your sun. It's just that Mars in Aries is under duress right now. It's part of a large T-cross of 5 planets in cardinal signs, and so somebody may be wanting to sort of push you into something that might not work out well for you right now, because, you know, the majority of planets are in earth signs, not fire signs anymore. And that means that taking action is not necessarily going to solve a problem, but asking yourself quietly, okay, what are the real facts and what is the fantasy, or who's lying? That you could figure out. Okay, what does it mean to a Virgo? Well, Virgo, your sign is gathering strength right now. Not only because the sun is there, but Mercury, your own ruler, is there, and it is being beautifully trined by Uranus in Taurus, and also by those 3 powerhouse planets in Capricorn. But those 4 planets together are retrograde, meaning that you can have good analytical skills and want to do some good problem solving right now, but it can be rather apparent to you that there have been a few fantasies told in one way or another, either in your career or involving your investments or in your health care in one way or another, and you really have to sort of get down to revising something or redoing something, or reassessing your career and your long-term security. Because Virgo, this idea of continuing with wanting to find facts and separate them from fantasy or lying or dreams is going to continue, and it will culminate in a fantastic new moon in your sun sign that's coming up in September. So this is an important time for you to prepare for the truth and to really sort things out and be very honest with yourself if you can. Okay, what does it mean to a Libra? Well, Libra, this is a time when I think that you just need to be as quiet as possible and sort of back off from a lot of people, because yours is a cardinal sign. And remember, we have to determine this week what is fact and what is fantasy. In other words, who's been outright lying, or how have the statistics or the facts been manipulated so that the conclusion is not really accurate on something right now. You could be facing that. You may not know who to trust right now, Libra, because Venus in Cancer is squaring your sun. That's your own sun sign ruler. It means that your home life can be going through change right now, and as much as you would like it to sort of stay the same or be extra peaceful, there could still be some changes there, not perpetuated by you, but by a family member. And then Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto in Capricorn are also squaring your sun, which means you really have to conform to the dictates of people who are in management in large corporations or government agencies, and there could be the possibility of some sort of betrayal that actually sets the record straight, because careers can be threatened by malfeasance or poor work performance. I hope you're not involved in that, Libra, but if you are, I urge you not to jump into anything like that, because it could be too controversial right now. And even if you don't like what people are telling you to do, if I were you, that's why I say back off, because this is probably a good time for you too to go on vacation and not participate, particularly not make yourself a target against people who are arrogant and very pushy right now, who want to start something new and may not want to include you at all, but they could get you, they may want you to do their bidding. And you shouldn't do that right now, Libra, because Mars in Aries is opposing your sun sign. So this is a time for you to think about separating fact from fantasy, but I would do it as quietly as possible right now, because there is no support in the air signs. Okay, what does it mean to a Scorpio? Well, Scorpio, yes, Venus in Cancer is trining your sun, and so is Neptune in Pisces. But the strength isn't in the water signs. There's only 2 planets in water signs right now. The strength is in the earth signs. And that simply means, Scorpio, that this is a time when you, particularly since yours is a financial sign, you really need to separate fact from fantasy. You've got to find out who has been maybe telling you little stretchers or outright lying or twisting the facts to suit their agenda and not be completely honest about something. You need to find out about that, Scorpio, and not engage with those people at all, because they could end up costing you a lot of money. And then also, Uranus in Taurus is opposing your sun sign, which means at any time the value of your investments could fluctuate, and that may not be too good for you. So I think, Scorpio, this is another week when you need to sort of sit it out right now, unless you begin to see who has been lying behind the scenes, or who an imposter really is, because they cannot evade the facts or deny them anymore. And if that happens, then you could be able to determine how justice can be done, and you would be fair about that. So that would be a good use of your analytical skills. But otherwise, I think you should be real careful with the money right now, Scorpio. Okay, what does it mean to a Sagittarius? Well, Sagittarius, you can still be enjoying the influence of having a planet in a fire sign trining your sun, because Mars in Aries is trining your sun. Last week was a little better because the new moon in Leo, along with the sun and Mercury, were also trining your sun. So yes, I think you're getting a fresh start underway that relies on experience and also on revising or redoing something right now. Well, that's good. So if you have to step back a little bit in order to prepare yourself better for moving forward, well, why don't you do that, Sagittarius? Because actually the moon is in your sign today, but it is being challenged by Neptune in Pisces. That isn't good because the moon and Neptune are both very visionary planets and they're in harsh aspect to each other. So somebody could have been lying to you, Sagittarius, or they could have been dreaming dreams that are never going to come true because they're not based on real proven facts. And then the Sun and Mercury are also squaring that moon in your sign. When the Sun and the moon square or oppose each other, that can lead to indecision and confusion, which might be what you're facing this week, Sagittarius. So I would be very cautious right now. Even if a new start or a fresh start is getting underway, this week I'd slow down a little bit and make sure that whoever you're involved with, Sagittarius, is really telling you the truth, not making it up as they go along. Okay, what does it mean to a Capricorn? Well, Capricorn, you, along with all the other earth signs, do benefit from having 6 planets in earth signs all in a harmonious trine to each other. That simply means that the Sun and Mercury are trining your sign, which has Jupiter and Pluto and Saturn in it, and Uranus and Taurus is trining your sun sign as well, and it's a fixed financial sign. Now the planets in your sign have been going retrograde or backward for quite a while, but they are going to start going direct and moving forward in your sign in September. And that is when you are going to be able to initiate some careful plan of yours, Capricorn, and it's about time. You should be doing that in September. You're going to have a lot of help with that, and that is because you could go to people who have good answers to straightforward questions, so you should ask them about that, because Virgo rules health as well as service to others. So you should concentrate more on your health and sort of, set things right. And then that Uranus in Taurus is also retrograde, but it is a financial sign being beautifully supported, and that means you might want to review your investments because something could really pay off later on this year. So I would sit down and do my homework this week, Capricorn, and keep your eyes on realistic facts and evade anybody who's involved in a fantasy or a dream world, because that's not where we're coming from anymore. Okay, what does it mean to an Aquarian? Well, Aquarius, there aren't any planets in the air signs, so I'm sorry to say your sign doesn't have any support, and yours is such a visionary sign. It rules invention and space and aviation and the whole telecommunications field. But this is a time instead when you too have got to concentrate more on facts and details. And that's because you might be feeling right about now that you're caught between the devil and the deep blue sea. And the reason why is that right ahead of your sign is this nebulous Neptune in Pisces that is being severely challenged right now with 4 planets in mutable signs, and that can be an indication that there are some people that are either lying outright or they have been imposters evading the truth and have been able to sort of get away with it right now. So you're caught between people who represent fantasy, and then you have the 3 planets in Capricorn right behind your sun sign, and they're very realistic, and so that they represent facts. So Aquarius, since your sign has no support because there are no planets in the air signs, I would say do not be tempted to swallow somebody's very astounding good yarn right now, or proposal, or anything else. What you need to do, Aquarius, is try not to react either financially, physically, or mentally to anything that is a little bit questionable right now, because you could get caught, once again, between a dream or fantasy world and the real facts. And what you actually need to concentrate on are the facts. So I'd spend my time doing that this week instead. Okay, what does it mean to a Pisces? Well, Pisces, my goodness, Neptune is in your sign. It is being trined beautifully by that Venus in Cancer, which means you could want everybody in your family to be happy, and you could be looking at a real estate deal that seems to be okay and that would be sort of the answer to your dreams. But this isn't a dream world anymore, Pisces. And it's not a fantasy world either. And if you've been involved with anything behind the scenes that isn't quite right or not exactly based on true facts, you could get caught at that right now, Pisces. And that is because the moon in Sagittarius is squaring that Neptune, and Mercury and the sun in Virgo are opposing your Neptune, and they are stronger. They have more support now. So if you have not been facing facts, or you've been living in a dream world, the bubble's going to burst right now, Pisces, and you do have to face facts. And the sooner you do that, the happier you'll be in the end. So good luck. All right, thanks so much for tuning in. Remember, you can see the show and read our blog on our website, starborninstitute.org.